point here about leverage, everybody says, get your hips through, right? You turn your hips. That guy's got great hip turn and all that stuff. But hips are made of bone. What really makes your hips turn? It's the leg muscles, the glutes, right? That's really what drives that hip turn. All right? It's the muscles. All right? Bone's not going anywhere without muscle behind it. All right? So really what it is finding a way to teach leverage in a way that gets them to pop their hips open using their legs and using their glutes. Okay? So the way that we kind of talk about that is, we showed this picture too of one of the better big league third basemen with his knee at contact, or rather a freeze frame at contact with his knee facing the pitcher. Okay? And that's where that term kneecap baseball comes from. Because you'd be surprised how many kids, when you kind of break it down and slow-mo it, how many kids, their back leg is barely even started when they're at the point of contact. Their knee is still pointing at the opposite batter's box. Or maybe the on-deck circle, they're lucky. But they've got to get that through it in contact, especially for middle and end pitches. All right, outside pitches, it may be a little different. All right. So anyway, we talk about leverage. We talk about how your leg muscles are going to drive your swing. Okay? And for those kids that maybe don't get that concept or they're just not buying it, well, what we'll do is we'll tell them to just, all right, kneel down. And we're going to throw you some softball. Let's see how far you can hit it. And they can't hit it very far. So what we say is, okay, what's different? Now stand up. What's different? And they say, well, now I can use my feet. Well, maybe there's something about the interaction of your feet and the ground that allows the leverage of your swing to make the ball carry the way it does. Okay? If all arms is all that mattered, then you could get down on your knees, hit the ball just as far, right? Okay? Well, what's different? Stand up. Now they feel that. All right? So that's just something you can use. Again, I keep saying it's freshman because hopefully by senior year they've either listened to you or they're going to play somewhere else. Hopefully by their senior year you're not working on this stuff. You may have to fine tune it every year because in the off season things get out of whack. But generally, their freshman year, sophomore year, you really kind of build that foundation early in the season, and hopefully they buy in and can make those adjustments. So that's a little bit on leverage and the things that we kind of talk about with that. Leg muscles, the core, kind of the center of your body, the glutes, like I said, very, very large muscles, and very strong, but also very slow. Okay, they are slow. They are not as quick. They don't have the fast twitch that your wrists do. Okay, so you've got to start them first in order to have everything happen at the same time like it should. All right, largest muscle groups are the strongest. They're also the slowest. And so we show this picture here. This is not from the open side. It's from behind, but I think it's a great shot of a major league hitter really coiling and using his lower half and getting it started when his hands haven't done a thing yet. You see how his hands are completely back. He hasn't done anything with his hands. And yet, and the ball's on the way, you can see that his legs are already started. All right, he is swinging with his legs. The hands just do the last little bit. Okay, free and easy. All right, but it's the legs that are setting everything up, and you can see that setup in sort of that coil action in his lower half. All right, so we tell them start our legs first, get their bodies in a position to hit. All right, before their hands start to do anything. The stride is very, very important to weight transfer and making sure that guys understand, what really allows them to kind of transfer their weight from back foot to front foot. The stride is very important in terms of timing, but it's also important in terms of weight transfer. Okay. Sometimes you'll get a kid that comes in freshman year. He's had a coach that's maybe worked with him or maybe even has taken lessons, and he gets out a little wider. And all he does is pick up his heel and swing. And his toe stays in contact with the ground the entire time. And that's fine, okay? As long as he's lifting that heel and getting that good weight transfer, he can do that. Some guys like to have a big leg kick. But what all those things have in common is that when the heel lands, the back leg is already started. All right? So here's what you can do. And this is what's great about the era we coach in today. Every time a new gadget or device, phone comes out, the camera is better and better, right? I mean, we have access in our pocket to an HD camera. Almost all of us do, right? So we can use that as a tool in practice. It's nothing anymore to take a BP round from the open side. It used to be a pain in the butt, right? Now it's not hard to do that, right? So there's no more excuses of not having guys on tape and breaking it down with them on a rainy day. that that's what we do. When it's raining, when it's something that we couldn't get on the field, it flooded the day before, that's a day to bring in, a group and show them their hitting from the day before or 2 days ago. Okay? So anyway, that's just something that you can think about and kind of look at your guys. But anyway, if you film them and you slow them down and you freeze frame, okay, this is crucial. When the heel starts to make contact, the front heel starts to make contact with the ground, okay, stop the tape right there and just look at it. Okay? There should be some correlation to this. The back knee, as you can see Pujols here, his back knee is already starting to make its way towards the pitcher, and his hands are still back. Right? If the heel, if by contrast, if the heel touches the ground and the back knee hasn't done anything and the hands are starting, that kid's swinging all arms. Okay? He's not doing anything because what you want is when that front stride heel lands, you want that back knee and back leg pressing towards the front, all right, and generating that good weight transfer. Okay? A guy who's real good with this is a guy, I think he's based out of somewhere on the North Shore, Chris Yeager. He's big on the purpose of the stride and how that really interacts with weight transfer. All right? The stride, when you lift your foot off the ground, you're really loading your back leg. Okay? That's really what it's doing. Okay? And if you do the little toe thing, that's fine too. When your heel comes up, you're loading the back leg. When it comes back down, you're bringing it back to the front. So weight transfer is real important. Here's another term you can use. Stride to hit, don't hit the stride. All right? So in other words, the stride shouldn't be an afterthought. The stride should be something that is very, very crucial to a kid's leverage in his lower half, all right, of loading his back leg. Now, we all love the hitters with the unorthodox swings. Stance. Guys come in with different stances all the time. There's guys that have their hands way above their head in their stance, waggle the bat a certain way. Some guys, Mickey Tettleton when I was little, back's back here. It's just stance. That's all it is. Craig Counsell, if you guys remember him, really unorthodox stance. That's great. The stance is really not nearly as important from the waist up. From the waist down, they got to be athletic. But from the waist up and where they keep their hands and what they do with the bat, it's really not all that important. Gary Sheffield wagging the bat. We can all think of guys with unorthodox stances, right? And you can probably think of a lot of guys that are just real traditional. Hands right in here, not moving much. All right? So which of those guys are right? Which ones are wrong? Well, you don't really know the answer to that question until you see their stride foot hit the ground. Right? So what this does right here, what this does is it shows you 4 really good major league hitters at the same exact frame of their swing. And they look like clones, don't they? You wouldn't even believe, if you glance at this, it'd be hard to believe that was 4 different guys. And they all have 4 different stances, okay? Albert Pujols, Pudge Rodriguez, Alex Rodriguez, Vladimir Guerrero, 4 great hitters of their era. And when their stride foot hits the ground, they all look the exact same. All right, stance is all different, especially Pujols with his crazy thing with his hands. But look what happens when the stride foot hits. They're all the same, okay? The bat angle is at a 45-degree angle, and it's pointing probably right at a space in the ground right in front of the catcher, okay? So it's at a 45-degree angle, probably somewhere either at the catcher or a little bit towards the left-handed batter's box in there. It's a spot on the ground, and it's all the same in all 4 shots. The hands are over the back foot. So in other words, if you were to draw a vertical line from the hands and straight down, you would see them go through the back foot, either over top or slightly behind when the stride foot hits. All right? A common thing you'll see with high school hitters is that when you freeze frame them, when the stride foot hits, the hands go with the stride. So when you freeze frame it, the hands are like here. All right? They're almost sometimes at the belly button. And you're like, hey man, how many extra base hits have you hit in the last couple of years? Not many. I'm a singles hitter. Well, there may be a reason for that. We're not at upper body stuff yet, still lower half. But that is something to keep in mind, that when the stride foot lands, right, the hands have to stay back. Right? They come later. So again, that's just kind of a word on stance. If a kid has a funny looking stance, that may not be bad. You need to film him and slow-mo it and freeze it on when his stride foot hits the ground. If he looks kind of like that, hey, I wouldn't mess with it. I wouldn't mess with it. As long as he's athletic, stance can be his personality. A lot of times it's just a personal preference, a comfort thing. Okay? But you can see all great hitters are at the same spot when the stride foot hits. And for you lefties out there, it's the same thing. And you can go all the way back to Babe Ruth. He looks just like Chipper Jones, Giambi, Griffey. It's the same thing. Right? Bat's still at 45, pointing at the same spot, hands are back. I mean, just some real interesting parallels between all great hitters when the stride foot hits the ground. So that's what I'd look for. You don't need every guy's stance to look the same. You just need them to all look the same when the stride foot lands. Okay? So that's the lower body. Upper half, once you've kind of got that down, the lower half stuff, then and if you feel like a kid gets it, and he needs to be athletic, weight transfer, he's doing some good things lower half, you can start talking about upper half, right? The first rule that we talk about with upper half is don't fight the angle. Because all of us in here who are also pitching coaches or we work with pitchers, you know, what do we tell our guys? You know, hey, 3 to 5 inches off the bat. They're giving it to us, great. We'll live there. We're working outside, right? We are working away. And what do we love? We love hitters who try to pull that. We love hitters who try to pull it, and they hit to the shortstop. We can get a 6-4-3 and come back to the dugout with some momentum, right? We love guys that pull the ball on the outside pitch, right? So as hitters, do we want to play into that? No. We want to be hitters who are smart and understand what pitchers are trying to do, right? They're trying to go away. Well, let's hit the ball away. Let it get deep, let it travel, okay? And you'd be surprised how many kids, you know, especially in today's era of travel ball, have never even heard that concept before, okay? Oh, you don't pull the outside pitch, you know, and it's kind of like a light bulb moment for some guys, and you wonder how they got that far, you know, not knowing. Hands back, that was something I was just touching on. What we tell our guys is to paint the mental image is to imagine a big rubber band or even a big TheraBand, something like that connects their hands to their stride foot. And you can imagine, when you pull your hands back in stride, that rubber band gets very tight, doesn't it? Very tight. That creates all kind of leverage, and it just like pop the rubber band. Let it snap back into place, okay? So that's something, or you can, if you have TheraBands and stuff, and a few extra, you can actually do that. Tie it to his hands, tie it to his foot, let him feel it. You know, and so that you want him to kind of have that mentality like they're chopping down a tree. You know, we tell them, hey, drop your bat, forget baseball for a second. You got to chop down a tree to save your life. How are you going to chop it down? Are you going to come from right here? Are you take a little jab step, or are you going to reach all the way back? You know, you're a boxer, you're throwing a knockout punch. I mean, you're reaching back. Okay, and it's so just, it's a natural thing, but yet a lot of hitters don't do it. You know, they kind of start with their hands here in the chest, and then if everything goes well, they'll hit a single. You know, and there's some guys, especially our bigger, strong guys, you know, they can do better. Our job is to make them maximize their potential. You know, so hands back, you know, let them feel that rubber band getting stretched out, creating that leverage. You know, and again, we tell them, here's 3 more big league hitters. Stride foot landing, hands are back. Knob of the bat, we tell them even or slightly behind your back foot when the stride foot lands. All right, that's one of the first checkpoints. It's really easy to check. Video, slow-mo, stride foot lands, where's the hand? Over the back foot or behind, then they're good. One thing, a couple guys we've had in the past have back wrapped a little bit on that, like when the stride foot lands. When the stride foot lands, the knob of the bat is facing like the umpire. You know, or like the press box. So they're like right here. You know, and it's like, well, if the kid's not throwing too hard and it's left down the middle, he might be able, because he's kind of cheating, creating a little extra leverage, he might be able to get away with it and be a good, you know, power guy. But if we're facing the guy, all of a sudden he's bringing an 86, 87, he's got a little movement, it's inside, you know, that's not going to do it. From the stride foot landing and the knob of the bat pointing this way, this barrel has an awful long way to go to get to the front, right? Occasionally you'll see big league hitters cheat a little bit with it, but you know, they're world-class athletes, they can get away with it. But you know, I would keep it at a 45 with the knob facing, you know, spot on the ground next to the catcher, kind of towards that left-handed batter's box. Hands in rather than hands out. You know, this is something too that we get very common. This may be one of the most common things we see is hitters whose hands are out away from their body. You know, what we tell them is a good rule of thumb is to just, all right, get in your stance. Let's see. They get in their stance. And then we say, okay, how far are your hands away from your back shoulder? They should be no more than a hand's width apart. All right, so we tell them to actually take their left hand and see if they're a hand's width away from their back shoulder. All right, if they're right there or closer, they're okay. But if you feel like he's getting out here some, and he's one of these guys that's kind of out here, stride foot lands, and he's still out here, say, hey, you're like 2 or 3 hands widths apart, man. You're too far. All right, and again, watch these major league guys.